Right now, I'm on my way to a secret location. You see, years back, I'd done a video telling the tale of my deep infatuation with a machine. The machine, in fact. The Bride of Pinbot. My lost love who disappeared from a car wash and left me with a vacant spot in my heart. Since then, she's haunted me as friends from across the globe have never let me forget. Chicago, Massachusetts, London, Texas, the tweets never stop rolling in. Someone saw her at a bar, at a con, at an arcade, or inside a titan of industry's 6-car garage. Every time she is just as lovely as I claimed her to be. Now, that's all culminated in this moment when I'm on my way to a local arcade in search of a man they call the Rifleman. You see, a few hours prior, I had been meeting with my guy, flipping some games for a small profit when he casually said, "You know, the bride is back in LA." This phrase, as quoted by my guy from the Rifleman, would be the catalyst for me to tear through my couch cushions to gather every loose coin and strut full speed to the Retro Wave arcade where the Rifleman has been spotted recently, holding out hope, however small, that I may be reunited with my lost love again. Upon arriving inside, things begin to move fast as I waste no time in seeking out Pinball Row, and thus the clanging comforts of Jurassic Park Pinball. This particular version being produced by Stern in 2019. A new model will run you close to $6,000, and from the conditions of the rubbers and drop targets, this one would be considered like new. So, it's quite a bargain to have access to it here for a mere 75 cents per play. It puts on a dazzling light show, but proves to be a steep challenge, and I quickly burn through a couple dollars of my budget. Moving on along Pinball Row, I can't help but wonder if it would be too ridiculous to stumble upon my wayward bride here, her warm vibrations humming softly in this darkened, flashing cave. I'm not seeing the apple of my eye, but the stars are out tonight and prominently displayed on the marquee for Twister. And look at this, they've got the new Black Knight right next to the vintage one. We've got some badly flaking paint on the back glass, which would bring down the value of this one. I continue passing pins from further back in time before finally arriving at a couple of old-fashioned mechanical machines. Unsurprisingly, no bride. Look at this here, Space Invaders, the pinball game based on the popular arcade game. The back glass is hypnotically beautiful, the xenomorph framed by an infinity effect of lights and mirrors. The playfield itself is unique in that it's a wide body, and when in good condition will go for $5,000. Getting to play it here for a few quarters a pop is a real bargain. Now here's a pretty rare game that I never had the opportunity to play before. Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street, which you can find for sale around $47.95. Right here it goes for 75 cents for 3 balls. It's got some really spooky red and blue lighting effects and a mechanical Freddy head on the playfield which is able to eject your ball from his open mouth. It's a fast and tough play, but I insert round after round of quarters. Every new game begins with the nostalgic first few musical notes of the Nightmare on Elm Street theme song. Then, your ball hits the plunger and you're dropped into a nightmare dreamscape of delights. I really get into the zone on this one, and when the last drop of blood has hit the floor, I hit a high score. 3rd place on the leaderboard, and my investment of nearly 6 greenbacks has paid off with the inscription of my name for future generations to marvel at. There is no sign of the Rifleman, but the night is still young. I have to keep my eyes out though. The Rifleman is a Spectre, an arcade legend, a ghost who appears before a light gun game at any given arcade and devours it using only a single quarter. Sometimes he'll entertain mesmerized mobs packed around him under pulsing light and thunderous bass. Other times, he will perform his beautiful dance to an empty arcade. With the Rifleman nowhere to be seen, I move on to play some classic cabinets. I saddle up on Sunset Riders, swing through some Spider-Man. Look at this incredible art on the control panel. I play some Simpsons, some Neo Geo, Contra, Dig Dug, Gauntlet Dark Legacy. I begin to have some serious concern that there is still no sign of the Rifleman, and I've blown through more than half of my budget. After careful consideration, I determined that I must seek cheaper thrills. That's when I drift across the arcade, where beneath a wall of mounted big screens which display random gameplay, they have some cabinets loaded up with Pandora box MAMEs. I used to turn my nose up at these cabinets for not being an authentic, dedicated arcade experience in the classical sense, but over the years I've warmed to them, and they really are the best value you can find in an arcade. Right over here, I find myself playing something truly unusual. For a measly 25 cents a pop, I'm playing Knights of Valor by International Game System. IGS is a Taiwanese developer who produced this for the arcades in the late 90s, and I'd most likely never have the opportunity to play this otherwise. The really cool thing about how they have this Pandora's box set up is instead of being based on lives lost, gameplay is charged by time. You get 99 seconds for 25 cents, which works out to be about 13 cents a minute. Pretty cheap when most of the other games in here are running you 75 cents for, say, 1 to 3 minutes of play on average. Also, depending on how you do, the timer will reset, giving you bonus time. This is an incredible value I cannot pass up, and so I indulge myself in several minutes of this showy beat-em-up. For me, it conjures memories of my beloved Sengoku, a classic beat-em-up franchise from SNK. I soak up this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After that, I maintain in the MAME zone and stumble upon a most ironic game. This is another thing I love about these MAME cabinets. You never really know what you'll stumble upon if you simply wander down the game menu road. There are thousands of titles available to play. Look at this right here. I find a game called Turtledove, which I absolutely cannot pass up. As the loading screen cycles, I have absolutely no idea what I'm about to experience, except that it's a Dreamcast game, and after some quick research, I find it's reselling for close to 150 bucks. When the picture tube lights up, I'm dropped into a beautiful bullet hell. Never in my life would I have seen this coming. I relax my breathing, half close my eyelids, and for the next 180 seconds, I let every fiber of my consciousness focus on my reaction time. I die 24 times. With the Rifleman still a no-show, I take a break, looking to protect the last of my budget in the off chance that this wild goose chase ends up leading me to the bride. I plop myself down at a Tron cocktail table. Tron was an incredibly popular arcade game released the same year as the original motion picture. A year later, it had made over $30 million from over 10,000 machines. But those were all stand-up cabinets. This cocktail table that I now sit before is so unbelievably rare, it only pops up at auctions and has no predetermined value. But I scoff at the chance to indulge myself in this most rare piece of hardware. I am so consumed with thoughts of the bride being in Los Angeles tonight, perhaps only a few miles of cold city between us. I think back on all the times I tried to bring her to life, failing, waiting months or years before I find her again to have another chance. I glance down at the Tron screen, wondering how I could have been led astray from my bride, when briefly pursuing a sordid fling with the mystical mistress Xenon, hoping I'll have one more chance to set things straight with the bride. Then, from out of my glazed vision and Tron's bright pixels appears the Rifleman. He's already posted up at Time Crisis 2, Player 1 and Player 2 pistols in hand, splitting his single brain into that of two right before my eyes. The action starts and a beautiful ballet of infrared bullets begins, feinting and firing, ducking in and out of cover, dancing back and forth between two pedals, before returning his weapons to his custom-made holsters, with a cool as ice wink and a nod. The man is a pro, putting on a beyond human display, reminiscent of a great athlete, marksman, and performer all rolled into one. For the next dozen or so minutes, my jaw is left agape as I marvel at the skill, precision, and style of the rifleman as he lays waste to hundreds of foes in a blaze of fire and explosions. When it's done, he pays respect to his fallen foe, an arcade machine left humbled in a smoldering pile with but 2 lone quarters inside. I approach the rifleman and he cordially insists I call him Eddie. After inquiring to his knowledge of the bride, he goes on to tell me the tale of a private pinball arcade just across the San Fernando Valley. It requires a reservation and a steep entrance fee, but once inside, it's pinball hedonism. I make my way across town, taking a late-night left turn onto Pinball Lane, where I find the private arcade just as the rifleman said I would. And also, as he warned, I find a locked door with a phone number on it. After patching in and making all the arrangements, my budget is drained to nearly the last penny. You see, to get access to this ultra-exclusive Pinball Palace, one must reserve time in hour increments at a rate of $15. Once I am buzzed in, the lavish amenities that come with such premium prices begin descending upon me from all angles. I essentially have an unlimited supply of food and beverage from which the selection is far from paltry. But neither my parched throat nor aching belly could distract my vision for long. For out of the cacophonous storm of light and sound blaring all around me, I spot her. There, between Batman and a fire, was the love I had longed for. I could not make out her song or hear her greeting, but our eyes locked and I felt a knowing embrace sweep over me. Would this, in fact, be the night I am finally able to bring my bride to life, consummating our union in her penthouse billionaires club? You see, to capture the bride's heart, one must make a series of successive shots up her shuttle ramp. That sounds easy enough, but when you take a look at it from the silver ball's perspective, it's a tight gap. I fumble a bit to become familiar again, while several shots soon find their way from the playfield to the drain. This is where being in this private pinball club begins feeding my ego. Unlimited play for the next hour. What an amazing feeling, to be able to immediately restart and pick up the pieces from where we left off, unencumbered by the exchange of silver coin. And before you know it, we begin to find our chemistry, as I land a shot up her ramp, immediately giving her the power of speech. I'm a bit flustered trying to maintain the buoyancy of the pinball while thinking of all the things I wish to ask her, how to catch up on all the time lost since the last time we were together. I don't have the chance as I again hit a shot up her ramp, activating one of 2 eyes. The stakes rise higher as one slip up, one false move letting the pinball drop, and she returns to stage 1. Our cruel version of Groundhog Day resets. But at this moment, on this dark, cold night in Los Angeles, I hit the ramp again. My heart pounds through my chest as she transforms, opening her eyes so we can see each other again for the first time. After all of our on again, off again in the past, at this moment, I feel like the kid in the car wash again, my crush devouring me. Only a few shots away from salvation, and just like that, the silver ball crashes to earth. She reverts back to her cold, mechanical form as she has countless times before, ejecting from her heart any evidence of our relationship. It's okay though. At this moment, I'm feeling joy in failing. To fail, but with the one I love, knowing we can try again, and for this magnificent evening, we play together once more. I'm not able to bring her to life. I don't score enough points for an invitation to her billionaires club. It doesn't culminate in the way I had always intended on, from the first time my eyes glanced across the lobby of that car wash and I fell in love. At this point, I had assumed I'd be able to go, shoot some quarters, and hit a couple parlays off of that in the coming days, and then return here to the Pinball Arcade to be with her again. What I didn't know at this time is that my world would change again. This would be my last night out in the city for quite a spell. I would be under quarantine inside my own home, unable to visit her, unaware if she will be there when I return at a future date unknown. So now I prepare once again, firing up Pinball Arcade, the closest thing to being with her for real. And I work on myself, my faults, my techniques, how I can be a better person, and appreciate life and the unpredictable pursuit of love more than ever before. Sitting here inside my home, I wait patiently for the future where I'm with her again, comfortable in knowing there will be physical contact once more. And when there is, it'll be the best. Everything will be the best.